It seems small in the moment, almost too small to matter, just an item, just a quick decision, something you think you can walk away from without real consequences. But in the United States, even a small theft can quickly turn into a serious legal problem because the law doesn't measure the situation the same way you do in that moment. It doesn't just look at the size or value of what was taken, it looks at the act itself, the intent behind it, and the impact it has on others. And that's why something that feels minor can still lead to big trouble that follows you long after the incident is over. Under U.S. law, theft is generally defined as taking someone else's property without permission and with the intent to permanently deprive them of it. And while that definition sounds simple, the consequences can vary depending on several factors, including the value of the item and the circumstances surrounding the act. One of the most important distinctions is between petty theft and grand theft, because this determines how serious the charge will be. Petty theft usually involves items below a certain value and is often charged as a misdemeanor, while grand theft involves higher value items and is treated as a felony, which carries much more severe consequences, including the possibility of jail or even prison time. What many people don't realize is that even petty theft, which is considered less serious than a felony, can still lead to significant consequences, including fines, probation, and time in jail, depending on the situation. In addition, the circumstances of the theft can make the situation worse, because factors like prior offenses, the location of the theft, or how the act was carried out can increase the severity of the charge. For example, if force or intimidation is used, even in a minor way, the charge can escalate from theft to robbery, and if a weapon is involved, it can become armed robbery, which is considered a violent felony and carries some of the harshest penalties in the legal system. The process often begins when someone is suspected of theft, usually by store security or through surveillance systems. And in many cases, businesses have the legal right to detain a person for a reasonable amount of time while they investigate, which means you could be stopped, questioned, and asked to return the item. Many people believe that returning the item will end the situation, but that is not always the case, because the store may still choose to involve law enforcement, and once the police are called, the situation moves into the criminal justice system, where the consequences become much more serious and harder to avoid. If the police are involved, you may be questioned, cited, or arrested depending on the circumstances, and if an arrest occurs, you will go through the booking process, where your personal information is recorded, fingerprints are taken, and formal charges are filed. After that, you will likely be required to appear in court, where the legal process begins, and this is where many people start to realize how serious the situation has become, because even a small theft can lead to a criminal record that affects your future. The penalties for theft can include fines, restitution, probation, and jail time, and in some cases, additional civil penalties may be imposed, such as financial demands from the store, which are separate from the criminal case. These consequences can add up quickly, creating both legal and financial pressure that can be difficult to manage. What makes the situation even more serious is the long-term impact of a theft conviction, because once it is on your record, it can appear in background checks and affect your ability to find employment, secure housing, or pursue certain opportunities. Employers often view theft-related offenses as issues of trust, which can make it harder to get hired, and landlords may be hesitant to rent to someone with a criminal history, creating challenges that extend beyond the legal system into everyday life. For students or young individuals, a theft conviction can also impact educational opportunities, scholarships, and future plans, making it more difficult to move forward. For non-citizens, the consequences can be even more serious because certain theft convictions can affect immigration status, potentially leading to visa issues, denial of residency, or even deportation, which means that what started as a small mistake can have life-changing consequences that go far beyond the courtroom. This is something many people do not consider at the moment they make that decision, but it can have a lasting impact on their future and their family. The reality is that small theft can lead to big trouble not because of the value of the item, but because of how the law treats the act itself. And once you cross that line, the situation can quickly grow into something much more serious than you expected. What feels like a minor decision in the moment can turn into a legal process that affects your time, your money, and your future. And once that process begins, it can be difficult to stop or reverse. In the end, the biggest risk is not just getting caught, it is everything that comes after. Because even a small theft can lead to consequences that follow you for years. shaping your opportunities and limiting your options in ways that are not always obvious at the time. That is why understanding U.S. theft laws is so important, because once you make that decision, the impact can be far greater than you ever imagined, and what seems small in the moment can become something much bigger that changes your life in ways that are hard to undo.